Welcome, my beautiful souls and my gorgeous cancers. This is going to be your September 2025 reading. This is for Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. You may have planets in a sign of Cancer, but the way I look at a reading is whoever showed up, there is a reason you showed up. So I know many of you are intuitively guided, and I thank you for paying attention to your intuition. Really, what you're doing is paying attention to your spirit guides because that's what they do. They nudge you towards, messages that maybe you've missed, or they really want you to hear, like right now. Remember, because judgment is all about present moment energy. This is where our signs are sent. So, that's what I often feel when I'm doing a reading. Like in my mind's eye, you're all here. So anyway, soul to soul. Some of you may be in love with the Cancer. How could you not be? But same thing, because I am the messenger of our guides. Your guides know you're here, and if there's messages for you, they're going to give them to you. So, Cancer, we're doing a couple of things different this month. We're doing opposite signs again, and I think I just did your opposite. Geez, all of a sudden I can't remember. And we are, instead of doing like a freestyle spread like I normally do, I'm going to ask 6 specific questions directly to our guides. And, I have to say that they've been answering them very clearly. So I really love this format. And I'll explain it in a moment, but let's talk about the questions I'm going to ask. Number one, is there anything blocking you in your growth and in any areas? If so, what? Number two, what do your guides want you to know right now and why? Now, let me stop for 1 second because I also want you to understand that time is fluid. So when I say right now, well, let's say you don't see this reading for 6 months, but it resonates like, oh my God, this is my reading. Well, that's your right now. That's your divine timing. So, you know, time is fluid. But anyways, what do they want you to know and why? Number three, how will your love life be in the month of September moving forward? So, singles, this could be any type of love. Maybe in a relationship, single, looking for love, maybe not even looking for love. How is your love life going to be? Number four, an important question. What lessons from the past are helping you right now? Sam's cut the grass. Thinking, do I need to close the window? Hmm. What's weird about this computer is it doesn't really pick up background noises. I mean, we'll see. Um, but anyway, so what lessons from the past are helping you right now? Our past is our history. Like I feel right now in the world, we're repeating history. Instead of learning from it, we're repeating it. So our history is our lesson, so to speak. Is single this will be the next question. Is single or interested in love? What type of person is crossing your path? So what type of person, you're crossing each other's path, but what type of person can you expect? And when I say that, I just want to clarify that I'm not talking like, they have to be an Italian man with, no, I'm talking about stability, um, loyalty. I want to know if they're good or bad. Because when in my readings, I'm really looking at like whatever's beginning, and if it's something good, like how do we continue to grow it? Just not for a moment, but maybe forever. Last but not least, what energy is called for you in the month of September? Again, moving forward. And I don't know. I wrote down like our guide's biggest, what did I put? Biggest message. I'm not even sure why I wrote that. All right, Cancer. Coffee aside, gonna bring the lid down. And what we're gonna do is everything is pre-shuffled, as they always are. We're gonna use the psychic tarot to answer the question, take a crystal vision above it and a gilded tarot below it. We're going to use the major arcanas again. So these will be for like bullet points, and then we'll put them away, but we'll remember them, and they'll definitely relate back to the reading. They always do. We'll give Mother Mary the honor of opening up your reading, and I will give this one shuffle. Um, while I'm doing this, I just want to say, first of all, thank you to a bunch of you who pointed out that there was a thing called hyping. I didn't even know about it. So now, I think it's a great idea for helping creators grow. It doesn't cost anything. It's your true opinion, like I wouldn't hype something I didn't enjoy, I didn't like, or it didn't bring me value. But, if you do find this video brings you value, I would love it if you would hype. And it feels weird asking that. Um, wow, that didn't take long. Home. I trust and follow my divine guidance about my home. Home. Okay. Something going on in the home. Though, as I said that, I feel like for some of you, you may be looking for a home. And because I get the sense of, oh, look at that. I just saw miracles. Miracle. But I saw it. But what I was going to say is, I just feel that there's some who are looking for homes. And, you may have a hard time choosing. I feel like when you walk into a place, you'll feel it. Like you'll know this is the right place. Or you'll know it's not. Trust your intuition on that. Okay. And then action. Action, baby. Today, I take action related to the priorities that I have previously put off. Boy, it feels like it's talking to me like clean the home. All right, so home and action. I'm going to put them right there. And let's bring in the major arcanas. Look at that. Star just jumped out on its own. Oh, you know, interesting because I saw miracles. The star is about your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. And just the way it jumped out, we'll see if it comes out. But it's almost like, I have this feeling that there's going to be like wishes happening that you totally don't expect, but then they happen. Hmm. It feels good. Like I feel really good about that. All right. All right. You know what? Before I begin, I'm going to close my window. Okay. I heard the weed whacker come out. And I thought, okay, gotta close the window. All right. Hmm. The world. The world. Okay, so number one just talks about something coming to completion. That's what the world means, like completion, and then the beginning of maybe a new path, a new journey. It is the foal that's in the middle. So, it kind of talk about taking leaps of faith. Maybe it's more about being in the present moment. That's what I'm hearing. Like, no, it's more about being in the present moment. because this is a new chapter is opening up. And as soon as I said that, which I've been saying a lot this month, like when I said new chapter, I thought of like your book. So, an opportunity to write my story the way that I want it. Interesting. We're also in the ninth year of a 9 year cycle, and 2026 is opening up a new 9 years under the energy of the magician. So, we're in the year of the hermit. It is about reflecting. It is about making decisions, finding spiritual wisdom. Some of you may like, you're having spiritual awakenings. Justice. Interesting. I say interesting because my eye went back to home and then action and then justice comes out. First of all, Carl Libra. And this can talk about the law. It can talk about a divorce. Now, this is not predicting anything. This would be something you would want. And I'm only saying divorce because that is part of the meaning. This sword is to cut ties to anything that you just know is no longer serving you. You know, this this asks for balance, or maybe its promise is balance, right? I learned to use the sword when needed. Maybe I need to use it more than once. Probably, I could think of a few times that I wish I knew I had the power of the sword. I know that now. But this, justice is about making you whole again. And I'm seeing this like circle of no beginning and no end. Almost like it's bringing you back to you, or you're bringing you back to you, actually. Like, I feel like the credit's got to go to you. So that's probably what action is talking about. The fool in the middle there is like, no better time than the present. Hmm. Like, I wanted to come on the table. If you really want to come out on the table. I have just a couple rules. And one is card has to come to the table or a floor. I do accept them. Or it has to flip around in the deck. But if it's just like sticking out, I don't take it. Now that's just me. Oh, oh, look what was hiding behind the Emperor. The lovers. It's interesting how all these great energies like seem to be somewhat hidden, but then I find them, right? Miracle, I saw it. I felt it. The star card, your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. You know what I mean? The world, it's like whatever you want it to be. Lovers, the lovers sitting right next to justice definitely could talk about like a head over heart decision. But there's Cupid like influencing these lovers. And then we have the Emperor. Interesting because now I feel like this could be a father figure. This could be like someone. I feel it two ways. I feel it both ways. I feel it like for some, and listen, this can also talk about a business, like what I've been doing. It's not bringing me, satisfaction. Whatever is working against you, I feel like you have the power now to use that sword and reclaim whatever it is you want to reclaim. I feel like you want to be the fool. Like, I feel that. And this emperor is mirroring the fool. So, this can be a father figure and it may be for some, but let's talk about because he's looking right at the lovers. The emperor is normally someone that we can look up to. This is someone who is on a spiritual journey themselves. I don't know that they would speak that, say that, like, I'm on a spiritual journey. Maybe. Um, but this is someone who's been through a lot and has learned to overcome. I don't know why, but all of a sudden I'm feeling like there's someone who had a really tough childhood. Man, had a really tough childhood, um, and had to figure out how to overcome it. But I feel like you did. And boy, like, congratulations. Congratulations. Because I feel like, and it may have taken time, but whatever time was needed, right? So I chose to do better, to be better. And then that's exactly what it became. So I feel that in the Emperor's energy. The Emperor is the leader of the people. So if you have leadership abilities, they may be called into action. And then the lovers. Well, number one, it is chemistry. It is a head over heart decision, but it's chemistry at the same time. And sometimes you'll see the devil card also will have the lovers, but under a negative influence. Well, this is under the light, an angel's influence of the light. Almost like they're just about to touch fingers and fireworks. Maybe it starts, who knows, maybe it starts with the sword and then being the fool, seeing what happens. I feel like it's so funny. I don't know why I'm thinking this, but I feel like for some reason we overthink things. Like we overthink, let's just say love. Like if I meet someone, some of us may think like, okay, is this something that's going to last forever? Where we don't give the chance to build a foundation. And the foundation is everything. It's funny I'm saying that because the Emperor is a number 4, and that is foundation. And even home reminds me of the Four of Pentacles. So, I don't know. All right. So, we're going to remember them. I am going to put them away. Um, but they're still facing me. And we're going to get to the questions. I'm going to grab a drink real quick. Interesting. I feel like, boy, those 4 cards told a story. All right. Is anything blocking you or your growth? And in what area, if there is? Wow. Conflict and defeat. Look at this. Conflict and defeat. So this is a block. This person's like running away. It's like looking at that flame. Interesting. I'm noticing how little that flame is, though. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I feel like this is saying that, it is a 5, so it's asking for change. And, this makes me feel like you're feeling defeated. But I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like you're feeling that, but I don't feel like that's the case. I know I just literally said that. feel like there's some type of recognition going on here, though. Like you're having that. And, for some reason, I'm noticing how little that flame is. All right, let's go above it. The Queen of Wands. Judgment, your spiritual team. It's just like we know what's going on. So when you see judgment, know that you're being called to the present moment. No wonder it's a 5 above it, because that is change. But judgment wouldn't be here if it wasn't a good change. And, the Queen of Wands, which is mirroring judgment, is a queen of action. So Mother Mary's sending out the word action. Well, that queen is a queen of action. She follows her passions, her desires. She thinks about it later. So I don't see her staying within this conflict and defeated. Yeah, for a moment, I might have felt defeated. But I feel like not any longer. Something's changing, and it may be your very spirit guides who are helping you through this. That maybe this is maybe what they're saying, because I feel the Queen of Pentacles or the Queen of Wands is you, especially with Mother Mary sending out action. I don't feel like the Queen of Wands doesn't try. She does try. But I also feel, and I feel like when I'm a queen, as I'm a page, a knight, as I'm growing up, this is what I'm learning. Not everything is going to be the way I hoped. So, you'll hear me call the Page of Wands my risk taker. Well, now she's the queen. So she's fallen, but she gets back up again. And I feel like that's what Mother Mary's asking for. Okay. What do your guides want you to know right now and why? I kind of feel like it's being answered. Look at that. The sun light is calling this deck. Illumination. You know what I feel like they're asking? For you to put down the weight. For you to let go of the things that you cannot control. Allow yourself to have fun. Be playful. Even if it's just for a moment. One moment can change the rest of our life. I feel like anytime the sun shows up is a good thing. It's your illuminator, and with judgment here, sending you signs. What's the signs about? Well, they want to help you move from that type of energy. And they're helping to guide you. They're doing their job. And the sun illuminates that. And I feel like the Queen of Wands learns that. Song just popped in my head. And I can't, and it comes to my head all the time, and I can never think of the words. I got knocked down, but I could back up again. I got knocked down. I know you guys all know. All right, speaking of the devil, there's the devil. Interesting, because it's almost like the light and the shadow. The light and the shadow. The devil speaks about temptations, but listen, the sun's going to illuminate that. It's interesting if there's someone which, I'm assuming is supposed to be Adam, right? It's like here's Eve. But for some reason, I'm getting this feeling of it's like there's someone in the background. Let's just put it that way. In this five, this could be energy that just tempted you. It could, unless it's a Capricorn for you, because it could be for some. But others, I feel like it's speaking about, like, let's just say human nature, like things that tempt us that, you know, for whatever reason don't work out, but then here's the light. So it helps you to understand. The Three of Pentacles. I kind of find this beautiful sitting next to Judgment because this is a reminder that there is no one else like you. That you were born the way you were born. Now I'm thinking Lady Gaga. What's her song? But truly, this is about celebrating your individuality, even if nobody else is. Because sooner or later, you will find, like, that's what I feel like. I'll find my people. It definitely can talk about craft, like something you're really good at. And it's definitely a way I feel like to help us overcome, because our mind is focused on this craft that we're not thinking, we're not thinking about, or maybe we're purposely refocusing our mind. But anyways, I feel like Judgment, your spiritual team just wants you to know that, like we see you, we know you, we love you. Um, we're beside you always and forever. I just did a podcast which I haven't released yet that broke down like who are our spirit guides. And we have many. We have a team. Our guardian angel was with us for our whole life. Our spirit guides can change according to whatever situation's happening, like who, and they've lived life before. So, who is out of all of us spirit guides, whose specialty is love? Mine. Okay. Then you have your ascended masters. They're people who have lived life also, but they have mastered um, especially karma. So they will not reincarnate, but what they are instead is now teachers. And how many times have you guys heard me say that I felt that? Like I felt that, some of us, like that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be teaching the young one. Like, well, I'm saying young ones, but I feel like anyone who crosses automatically becomes young. And then you have your angels, but listen, they need your permission because of your free will. So you have to ask, invoke them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, and we shall show. Okay, well, let's keep going. So, how will your love life look in the month of September moving forward? Well, look at that. Passion ignited. This is the Ace of Wands. This is also action. Interesting. Like we're getting a lot of energy that's speaking about action, but I love this because this means that, I feel like your heart chakra is going to be activated first. You may cross someone's path and just be like, and listen, maybe you just barely touch each other, but there's these sparks. You don't know who you are, each other is. Hmm. I feel like anything is possible. And things may happen in the most unexpected of ways and in the simplest of ways. Again, do we overthink it? But anyways, like sitting right next to the sun also, wow. It's like hot passion. I have a feeling there's going to be chemistry. We have the Seven of Cups, so you're making a decision. This is your card, so you're choosing. Interesting that no wonder your heart chakras are being activated first. Sitting so close to the devil, it can have some influence on you, but in a negative way, where your head could start going to like, wow, when I was seeing Johnny, look what he did to me, or when I was with Katie, like, holy crap, but we're not meant. That's why judgment is like present moment. This is about now. And it's interesting because the Seven of Cups can talk about chaotic energy also. So weird. I could have swore I just saw a genie, like a genie in a bottle, but coming out of the bottle. That's not what it is, but that's what I saw. All right. The Hermit. This is good news, I think, because I feel like because we're talking about love. And I kind of love this for you. Like, I feel like what this is talking about um, is someone who is a wise old soul, someone who has a lot of spiritual wisdom, maybe has a lot to offer the world. That's not saying you don't also, you do. It is the card of Virgo, by the way. That's what I feel. This tells me it's so weird. I feel like the Emperor is out, but it's not. But this tells me when I see the Hermit, I think like someone has gone through the dark night of the soul or something that they had to overcome, right? Something caused them to seek this light, but they found it. And now they want to share that wisdom with others. So I really like this person for you, whoever it may be. And it's funny because they're mirroring the Seven of Cups, which can again feel chaotic, but this person feels like the calm in the storm. And by the way, I also feel a message for you. Well, all of the messages are for you, but I also feel another message, including that, is talking about you and what you can present to the world, and it feels like if it's relating to money, then again, you'll have like these sparks of ideas. It's almost like if I'm a writer, I've had writer's block, but all of a sudden, like all these ideas start flooding in. Well, that could mean you got rid of the conflict, and therefore, you know, you're in much calmer energy. Okay. What lessons from the past are helping you right now? The Nine of Cups. I feel like it's asking you to find the Nine of Cups. I feel like what it's saying is the Nine of Cups is becoming available to you or is available to you. This is about inner harmony. It says fulfillment of wishes. And we have seen wishes everywhere. So I do feel like that's part of it. But I feel like what it's really speaking about first and foremost is you and your inner harmony. This is where you put down that weight. And it is much easier to pick up this sign that your spirit team is sending. I mean, look at what's around this Ace of Wands, the Sun and the Nine of Cups, fulfillment of wishes, inner harmony. Two nines, two great nines, by the way. We have the Six of Swords. Well, I have to say that kind of makes sense because this is you moving on. That's really the name of the card, moving on. And that's exactly what she's doing. And what is she leaving? She's leaving the Five of Swords. Something is toxic. Whether it's toxic like in her mind, whether it's other people's like their energy, whatever it may be. And where is she heading towards? The Nine of Cups. So, what is the lesson? I feel like the lesson is you don't have to stay in these vibes. And the more you allow yourself to live in the present moment, I feel like the easier you pick up on your guidance. Your guidance is always there, but the easier it becomes. And I love that this person is leaving the Five of Swords and heading towards inner harmony. Look at this, the Four of Swords, healing the past. You'll see three swords above them, and, I feel like it's the heart, it's the mind, it's the thoughts. But there's one sword he lies upon, and that's of our own making. And I feel like, it's healing oneself, but also, maybe for some reason you've put blame on yourself. It's forgiving oneself. It's knowing oneself, is what I really feel. But look how quickly you're healing. Holy cow. Why? Because you're a hell of a lot wiser than you used to be. Not that you weren't wise, but it feels like you have gained so much knowledge than what you used to have. Some of you, again, you might be having the spiritual awakening. And it's usually not an overnight thing. You know, it's first of all, I feel like it's true realizations. Like I'm being very honest with myself. And then taking action. It's exactly what you're doing here. Interesting because I feel like, well, we just made a decision in the Seven of Cups. And that means you are following this Ace of Wands. And it just feels like the right move because it brings you inner harmony. But then it's almost like wishes and dreams that were always yours to start with. This just might be the time. Maybe it was really truly meant for you. Okay. What question am I on? 5. If single or interested in love. Interesting because here, you don't necessarily have to be interested in love. You may be kind of in your craft, right? Growing spiritually. But I still feel like your heart chakra is going to be activated. And that's why in Seven of Cups, the decision becomes yours, as it should be, right? That's free will. But some are, I can tell, are making the decision to move forward. And maybe some aren't, to each their own. And to each in their own timing also. So what energy, or no, we were talking about if single or interested in love, what type of person is crossing your path? Look at this. patience. Wow, I felt that also in the Hermit's energy. This is Temperance, by the way. Heart of Sagittarius. But this is about divine timing. You know, like, I feel like what this is saying is do not worry about love because it feels like something is just naturally happening, but it feels like it's happening in divine timing. This inner harmony is probably so important because again, I feel the energy of like the four solid foundation. And it does have to start with us. And there is a four right below the Nine of Cups. So divine timing. Something just feels like it's just divine's timing. It's your timing. Eight of Swords, but will I? You know, this is what your guides are pointing out. And the Eight of Swords is the self-created prison. So fear. That's probably where patience comes in, right? Because the Eight of Swords is like walls are built. And I do feel this sense of like, I've got to let all this stuff go, these things that I cannot control. Let's say someone's not showing you what you deserve in life. But you have to know that, like, I deserve better. That's what the person in the Six of Swords is saying. Even going through the change is difficult, but look how quick the healing takes place. So, since this isn't your guide's message to you, I feel like what it's saying is put down those walls. Trust in us, right? Trust in the signs. They feel like they're going to be so clear. And when you do put down these walls, it's freedom. It's freedom. It's when you are no longer, I don't know, like saying to yourself that my future is going to look like my past. You're saying the opposite. My future will not look like my past. Seven of Cups, the decision. So for some of you, a decision is driving you a little crazy. I feel like I have to decide, right? I have to make the decision of staying in the Eight of Swords, which makes me feel like that means I'm staying in some conflict, or making a choice. It's interesting because Patience' hand is like this, and it's pointing right down to the Seven of Cups, almost like Patience, like divine, is patient with you, but Judgment is really calling you to the present moment. But I feel like no one can make you make these decisions or put down these walls because this is self-created. You're the only one who can free yourself. So that's what I would ask yourself. What do you feel afraid of? Like, because these walls that we built, they don't protect us. We think that they do, but they don't. And that's why when I talk about the Empress, which I feel like we all carry that energy, she trusts her intuition. Her intuition is her energetic force. And if anything crosses her path that is, again, with the sun out, anything that is of the dark will come to the light. And that I can trust because I can trust my guides. So, patience, I feel like we'll have patience. We'll be patient. But, you know, you can definitely see that some decisions are being made out of fear and maybe non-decisions. Maybe I should say that. Like, I'm not making a decision. Like, my decision is I'm not making it. But Mother Mary is like, wants you to. Your spiritual team wants you to. But I don't feel like anything can get, it's like your free will. And I do feel there's two sets of different people here. Because some of you, I feel like you know when I say like it sets you free by putting down the walls, by letting go of the things you cannot control, handing them over to divine, right? Getting lost in your own craft, you growing spiritually. And the more you grow, the more you will, let's say, you just know when something's a sign. You'll just know it. And if you don't, by the way, you can ask your guides to resend that sign, make it bigger. I ask for signs all the time. Um, I was thinking of something in particular that happened like that. Like I got the sign instantly. Anyway, so will you or won't you? I feel like that's the question. Will you or won't you? Let's see what's on the bottom of the decks. We have the Queen of Cups, which is you. She's holding a cup. She's holding it outwardly. As is the Hermit, by the way, holding the beacon outwardly. You're holding the cup outwardly, into the future. And, it can speak of love, but let's just say fulfillment. Let's just say it fills your cup. Interesting. Partnerships and alliances. And look how they're holding each other. They're not shaking hands like, hi, how do you do? There's some type of recognition here. This is also energy of great collaboration. I often feel like this tattoo for some is a little clue, or will be, let's say, in the future. Not that everyone's going to have a tattoo, because I don't want you to say, put your sleeve up, let me check your heart. I feel like you would just naturally see it, by the way, for those who see a tattoo. We have, look at this, the Three of Pentacles again. Interesting. There's something going on within that conflict and defeat that I feel like it feels like it might be affecting your money or let's just say your creativity. Again, like I'm a writer and I have writer's block. But the one thing I want you to remember about the Three of Pentacles, it talks about something that is unique to you, like it's your unique way. So it doesn't matter how many people do what it is that you're doing in that energy, because I feel like it's saying just trust in you. Trust in you. And what else I love about that is there's a lot of admiration going on in this table. There's a lot of like connecting, but yet not connecting yet. Interesting. It's like we're getting a peek at the beginning, at the actual opening of the heart chakra. All right, but I am going to look a little deeper. And I don't know, I cannot remember the name of this deck. It's like right there on my tongue, tip of my tongue. And I'm trying to think. Like, I don't want to like clarify everything because again, I feel like spirit was very clear with us and we have to trust that. But I think what I want to look at is this Eight of Swords because that is what becomes freedom for you. So let's see, like, what these walls are about. I kind of feel like I already know. Let's see. Okay. Hmm. We have the wheel, destiny. We have the moon. You know, I feel like what this is saying for some of you that, you know, you may not be comfortable in what you don't know. Like again, like it's not about, it's not about like where we end up. It's about the journey. We're creating the journey as we go. Because the moon can talk about uncertainties and the Eight of Swords. I have a feeling that's part of it. But I also want to tell you that this is also dreamy type energy that's right on your wheel. Card of Pisces, but it is your roller. Then we have the Princess of Pentacles. And then we have, of course, the Queen of Wands. So that's interesting because this tells me that what you've been through, and I know not everybody likes to hear this, but I do feel it's the case. But trust your own intuition. Anyways, I feel like, you know, what I've been through, because the Princess of Pentacles, the Prince of Pentacles, is what I'm learning, is what's teaching me. It's a path of knowledge. Again, some of you might be wise old souls, and you are here to master some things. But know that about yourself. Again, that's why the Queen of Wands is here. I feel like she knows that. And I feel like what this is saying is we have to learn to be comfortable in the here and now because we're creating our life moment by moment by moment, right? Decisions or non-decisions. But in a way, I feel like in a way it's kind of good news hearing that. If I can look at it in that perspective, like, okay, this this time of sorrow or this hardship, um, though I know it may sound silly that I was meant to go through it, but now I want you to look at it in a different way. Like, did I learn? What did I learn? Well, number one, I know in the Six of Swords, you're not taking bullshit anymore. I know that. I know for some of you, you're following your passions, your desires. That Ace of Wands, you're saying yes. And it does sit on your wheel. That's what your guides want you to know. This is what your guides want you to know. And how interesting I was talking about the ascended masters. Who knows? Some of you, this may be, you know, I think that often with the hermit, this may be my last reincarnation. So I gotta learn it now. Interesting. Okay. That was pretty clear. Um, Boy, I feel like that was clear. I'm not even sure. All right. I'm going to have a particular question of mine, and it's really asking our spirit guides, you know, about the signs, just in general. We have the devil, There's the lovers. Boy, I haven't seen him. I haven't seen this card in forever. There's the lovers. Under the influence, right? Illusionary energy. That's usually what that means. If it's not Capricorn, it can be temptations, or it can talk about what feels, energy that's really illusionary. That's what the Eight of Swords is. Well, there's the Empress. So when I say take the perspective of you've been learning, well, that's exactly what the Empress has done. This is how I become the Empress. I've gone through the experiences. I've overcome. I have no problem with shadow energy behind her because it is behind her. And then we have the Prince of Swords. This feels like potential communication. This may be communication. Let me tell you why I think it's so important the Empress came out right now. Um, and you are so naturally in this energy. The Empress is compassionate, empathetic, loving, nurturing. You have all those qualities, but she's also powerful. She's strong. She's courageous. She's creative. It's interesting that I put her over the Ace of Wands. I really didn't mean to, but there she is. So epiphanies, ideas, directions, like boom, 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 left and right they come. But the Empress also, especially with the Hermit below it, not everything is meant to come out immediately. But the sparking of an idea, you just never know where it's going to take you. That, I'm telling you, that is my life. Like how my life has changed from the first half to the second half is night and day. Did I expect it? No. I feel I was guided. So, anyways, let's follow this prince for a second. It's interesting because I feel like it may be some type of communication, and it's coming over the Nine of Cups. So you're in this inner harmony. Maybe that is a must. Let's say this though. The Six of Swords is temporarily difficult energy, and everybody knows that. Your guides know that. Change is not always easy, but how quickly you heal is like, if only I knew that, I would have done that. But now you do. But she's actively being active in her life, he or she. Anyway, now I feel like I'm just preaching, and I never want to do that. All right, anything with this prince? Hello, magician. Well, number one, the magician is what we're moving into, the energy of the magician. So, the hermit definitely represents 2025. We're in the year of the hermit. We're moving into the year of the magician. I get this feeling like this may feel a little magical. Oh my, the Nine of Cups. So that's good news. And then look at this, the Ten of Pentacles. That's why you're getting all these pentacles. It's not about you falling in love and stopping what you're doing. It's about you continuing and only growing and growing and growing. And I feel like something else It's just interesting that we have two nine of cups right there. So I feel like, first of all, I feel there's going to be similarities here. I do feel like this is talking about love, but also your money at the same time. Like there's no need. Like I feel like it's love, but then it only helps amp what I do, right? Maybe because you're happy. Because the Ten of Pentacles, listen, this is what I feel would ground you. This is the house that is grounded. This is the house of abundance, loyalty, which is so important to you. I know that. So do your guides. And, not everyone is going to be who we want them to be. But my God, it feels like there is someone perfect made just for you. And vice versa, by the way. This is a two-way street. The magician feels like the energy, the magic that connects this, whoever this may be. Because I'm feeling it in a bunch of different ways. But I feel like, first and foremost, the energy of the Empress, really in all areas of your life, are probably the most important. Because now when I make decisions, like this Empress can read energy. No one can pull the wool over her eyes. She does not live in the Eight of Swords energy. No way, no how. She lives in the Nine of Cups. It doesn't mean life is perfect, but she's able to pick up the signs quicker. So these fives, I can move out of them quicker. If it's a hurdle, I can just jump right over it. Oh, seen you before. Right over it. So, wow. Okay. Sometimes I think, am I the only one who gets this excited during a reading? Because I get excited because I love you guys. I want the best for you. Um, and I don't mean to get excited. It's just that I feel it. I feel it. I get a feeling. All right, let's bring in the clarifying love situations. And then we will finish with the romance angels. What a hell of a reading, Cancer. All right. Prickly defenses. Barriers caused by past hurts block you. Barriers caused by past hurts, Eight of Swords, block you. Be patient. What does it literally say? Patience. The block. That question. The knowing. Wow. Do I think your guys want to get that message across to you? I think so. All right. Anything else? Swept away. Caught up in the romance or clearing out emotions. Oh my God. Swept away. Caught up in the romance or clearing out emotions. I feel like it's both. Look at that. You being free, being you. Caught up in the romance. I mean, need I say more? I shall, because I'm going to bring the romance angels out. And then we'll let this reading be. I feel like your reading was so clear, and this is one of the main reasons why I've decided this month to like actually ask questions. And I don't know, I feel like I'm going to do special readings throughout the month for signs and use this format again. I hope not for it's I hope it's not only me who finds it like pretty clear. Getting to know each other. As you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens. The first thing I feel like, and this is an old fashioned term, let someone court you. And I feel like I meant to use the word court you. That may be one of your spiritual teams, probably like I'm feeling like grandma all of a sudden. Like let them court you, darling. Date them, getting to know each other. That's where the romance begins. This long, deep discussion. She's enjoying it. The daughter is paying attention to everything the man says because to get to my mother, you got to get through me. Some of you are a package deal. We did have the mother figure. And I don't know why. I feel like, did we see the emperor? Oh yeah, in our first cards. So we had the mother and the father figure. Can talk about blended families. I don't want to put any limitation on it. I feel like whatever it be, she's enjoying it. And I definitely feel he's trying to impress her. But it looks fun. It just looks fun. Retreat. It's time to disconnect from the world. Interesting. And then let go of control issues. Allow this situation to unfold naturally. That's probably going to be important. Just to allow it. And that's what I was feeling. Like, allow it to just unfold naturally. Enjoy each and every moment. Retreat. It's interesting because how I was feeling some of you, um, it's like a spirit guide stepping forward and probably someone who, you know, let's just say knows love. Knows love. I feel like because I get this sense is like this is you connecting, like the ability to connect, almost like talking with a loved one. Maybe it is saying, just talk, my dear. Just talk. I can hear you. But I feel like the message is coming back no matter what is let go of control issues because that is about the extra weight you've been carrying. That is about the walls you were building. Six of Swords, you are setting yourself free. And look what's happening. And I'm just going to let that be because I feel like it's going to be different for different people. I already know that. And I can't wait to read your comments because I feel like for each of you, I don't know. We'll see. That's why I love your comments. But boy, I hope you can see the beauty of this reading. I hope you can see the positivity of the reading, especially for those who may still be over here in this five. What lies ahead, but it won't lie ahead without taking action. I just feel that. All right, I'm gonna let it be. I'm gonna let it be. I love you. I thank you. I'm thinking, what am I going to name your reading? Holy cow. This is like a spiritual awakening tenfold. This is like destiny, which we saw your destiny. Like, coming to you unexpectedly. but in the best of ways. All right. Anyways, I'm still talking. I'll see you next time at our table. Bye bye. Definitely tell me your comments. I can't wait to hear, honestly. All right. I love you. Bye bye.